My name is Fatima. I am originally from the Middle East, but I am living in England where I have made myself quite comfortable, especially since I can live here with my family. Grocery shopping is one of my daily needs. Usually, I do this in the morning when fewer customers visit the supermarkets. To save money, I always prepare a list. For instance, today I need rice, vegetables, milk, sardines, and pasta. If I find cheap offers, I buy more of it. Potatoes and pork are not on my menus very often, as it's something more for the British. In most supermarkets, you have to pack your bags yourself and you can pay with your credit card.
A man went to a barber shop to have his hair and his beard cut as always. He started to have a good conversation with the barber who attended him. They talked about so many things on various subjects. Suddenly, they touched the subject of God. The barber said, "Look, man, I don't believe that God exists as you say so." "Why do you say that?" asked the client. "Well, it's so easy, you just have to go out in the street to realize that God does not exist." "Oh, tell me, if God existed, would there be so many sick people? Would there be abandoned children? If God existed, there would be neither suffering nor pain. I can't think of a God who permits all of these things." The client stopped for a moment thinking, but he didn't want to respond so as to prevent an argument. The barber finished his job and the client went out of the shop. Just after he left the barber shop, he saw a man in the street with a long hair and beard. It seems that it had been a long time since he had his cut and he looked so untidy. Then the client again entered the barber shop and he said to the barber, "Know what? Barbers do not exist." "How come they don't exist?" asked the barber. "Well, I am here and I am a barber." "No," the client exclaimed. "They don't exist because if they did there would be no people with long hair and beard like that man who walks in the street." "Ah, barbers do exist. What happens is that people do not come to us." "Exactly," affirmed the client. "That's the point. God does exist. What happens is people don't go to him and do not look for him. That's why there's so much pain and suffering in the world." A frail old man went to live with his son, daughter-in-law, and 4-year-old grandson. The old man's hands trembled, his eyesight was blurred, and his step faltered. The family ate together at the table. But the elderly grandfather's shaky hands and failing sight made eating difficult. Peas rolled off his spoon onto the floor. When he grasped the glass, milk spilled on the tablecloth. The son and daughter-in-law became irritated with the mess. "We must do something about grandfather," said the son. "I've had enough of his spilled milk, noisy eating, and food on the floor." So the husband and wife set a small table in the corner. There, grandfather ate alone while the rest of the family enjoyed dinner. Since grandfather had broken a dish or two, his food was served in a wooden bowl. When the family glanced in grandfather's direction, sometimes he had a tear in his eye as he sat alone. Still, the only words the couple had for him were sharp admonitions when he dropped a fork or spilled food. The 4-year-old watched it all in silence. One evening before supper, the father noticed his son playing with wood scraps on the floor. He asked the child sweetly, "What are you making?" Just as sweetly, the boy responded, "Oh, I am making a little bowl for you and Mama to eat your food in when I grow up." The 4-year-old smiled and went back to work. The words so struck the parents that they were speechless. Then tears started to stream down their cheeks. Though no word was spoken, both knew what must be done. That evening the husband took grandfather's hand and gently led him back to the family table. For the remainder of his days he ate every meal with the family. And for some reason, neither husband nor wife seemed to care any longer when a fork was dropped, milk spilled, or the tablecloth soiled. Children are remarkably perceptive. Their eyes ever observe, their ears ever listen, and their minds ever process the messages they absorb. If they see us patiently provide a happy home atmosphere for family members, they will imitate that attitude for the rest of their lives. The wise parent realizes that every day the building blocks are being laid for the child's future. Let's be wise builders and role models. Life is about people connecting with people, and making a positive difference. Take care of yourself, and those you love, today, and every day.
The husband and wife wanted to have a baby. They prayed for a baby. God answered their prayers. The doctor said they were going to have a baby. The wife asked, how many? The doctor said he didn't know yet. The husband and wife were very happy. Now they would have a baby. They both wanted to have a baby. They visited the doctor a month later. He examined the wife. He used a special machine. He saw the baby. He saw more than one baby. He saw 2 babies. He saw more than 2 babies. He counted the babies. He told the wife, you will have more than 1 baby. You will have 8 babies. The wife couldn't believe it. Her husband couldn't believe it. 8 babies? We will have a big family, said the husband. We will have a very big family, said the wife. But how can we pay for all these babies? Asked the husband. We can pay for 1 baby. But 8 babies cost a lot of money. How can we pay for 8 babies? The wife said, we will find a way. God will help us find a way. They both smiled. They would have a big happy family.
Ghulam Hussain was a popular social figure and a keen host of guests coming to him from distant lands. He lived in Moshi, a beautiful small town at the foot of Mt. Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. He was generous and hospitable to one and all. One of his hobbies during leisure hours, particularly on Saturdays and Sundays, was to play the game of cards with his friends. For hours they used to get together where they enjoyed the game. It was not with the aim of gambling but rather just for pleasure and pastime. Once in the midst of a lively game of cards, his servant came to inform him that a guest of his was seriously ill at the guest house and needed his immediate attention. He sent the servant back saying he would come soon. But he was so much engrossed to withdraw from it. So he continued to play with keen interest. After a while, his servant came again to report that the condition of the guest was deteriorating and needed his urgent attention as there was no one else to attend. But Ghulam Hussain was so deeply engrossed in the game that he did not want to be disturbed. As such, again he sent the servant back promising to come soon. By the time he could be free from the very mind-captivating game of cards, the servant came for the 3rd time. But this time he reported that the guest of his, a poor traveler from distant lands, had already died. This news gave a shock of his life to Ghulam Hussain. It convinced him of the evil and harmful effect of such an indoor game. There and then he vowed never to indulge himself in such a game. Is this not an eye-opening example of an intoxicating and mentally distracting game of cards, commonly played today either as a pastime or for gambling purposes? Perhaps it also explains the philosophy behind absolute Islamic forbiddance to play or watch such a game, even without the chance of gaining or losing money. It is meant to be prevention than a cure, lest man is one day tempted to use the game for gambling purpose. Abstention from sins is better than seeking help afterward. Imam Ali, A.S. Mahatma Gandhi went from city to city, village to village collecting funds for the Charkha San. During one of his tours he addressed a meeting in Orissa. After his speech a poor old woman got up. She was bent with age, her hair was gray and her clothes were in tatters. The volunteers tried to stop her, but she fought her way to the place where Gandhi Ji was sitting. I must see him, she insisted, and going up to Gandhi Ji touched his feet. Then from the folds of her sari she brought out a copper coin and placed it at his feet. Gandhi Ji picked up the copper coin and put it away carefully. The Charkha San funds were under the charge of Jamnalal Bajaj. He asked Gandhi Ji for the coin but Gandhi Ji refused. I keep checks worth thousands of rupees for the Charkha San, Jamnalal Bajaj said laughingly, yet you won't trust me with a copper coin. This copper coin is worth much more than those thousands, Gandhi Ji said. If a man has several lakhs and he gives away 1,000 or 2, it doesn't mean much. But this coin was perhaps all that the poor woman possessed. She gave me all she had. That was very generous of her. What a great sacrifice she made. That is why I value this copper coin more than 1 crore of rupees.